You are now locked in to the Beyond the Hashtag podcast.
BTHPOD. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to Beyond the Hashtag. You are joining us on episode 14. It's been a while. I've been a few weeks off doing a couple bits, couple bobs, but I'm back in action with a big episode for you guys, very special one. It's a season review of the main discrimination stories in British football and European football in the 2020-2021 season. But I'm not doing it alone, guys. I'm joined with a few guests. I'm here with the infamous final third. So I'm here with man like Shems. How you doing, bro?
Thanks for the intro. Infamous as well. I love that. Thanks, mum.
I think he's an Afro Nation. Whoa.
Man like Banks, how you doing, bro?
I'm lovely, man. Just came off the back of a 6-2 win at football, so you know I'm pumped up already. Yes. I'm ready for tonight. Ready
to attack the racists.
He was on my team. You was on my team, Sam. You was literally on my team. You got picked after me.
And Juls, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good, yeah. So the guys at the final third, if you don't know, they do regular reviews, Premier League, Euro, it's just football in general. And the idea of this episode actually spun from you guys' season reviews of all the clubs that you did. And I just thought, why not bring it all together and do the same thing, but like specific Beyond the Hashtag style, focusing on racism and discrimination in football kind of thing. So we're going to talk through a few different clubs, the main clubs in British football and just overall European and English football in general. So guys watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, especially on the YouTube, the Spotify. You guys are already there, and yeah, just keep supporting us. But without much ado, let's get into the episode, and we'll start with the great and glorious Manchester United. So we've got Banks, who's our resident United fan. So
Banks, doing a bit of Chelsea today, but it's always been United. It's always United.
Hey, that's legendary. That's legendary. It's a disgrace.
This is a legendary moment right there.
It's a disgrace.
It's a disgrace.
So one of the main stories that United had this season was the Edison Cavani incident. So it was his social media post, him basically replying to someone and calling them negro, and I think the result of that was that he got a fine, and I think it was a 1-match ban, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on that incident in general, sort of your feelings and thoughts on it, and then perhaps one or two solutions. I'll get the guys to come in on the discussion as well for what could have been done to prevent that and how we move forward from an incident such as that.
So this incident right here reminded me a lot of something that happened the previous season with Bernardo Silva and Mendy, where Bernardo Silva, I think he posted a social media post using a Portuguese character, or I think it was a chocolate or character or something like that, compared it to Benjamin Mendy. And obviously there was the backlash. I think he got a ban and a fan as well. And it's very similar to... It's all sliding. It's very similar to what happened with Cavani here. I do believe that it was well-intentioned what Cavani did. But again, it's the clash of cultures that's different from the UK and from South America. Like, we know that really and truly, even in South America, I don't believe they should be using it's harmless for them over there because it's just their black friend. They call him Negrito or whatever. Yeah. But it shouldn't be like, for me, it shouldn't be happening. But that's where education comes in, because Cavani clearly didn't know it was an Instagram story. Yeah. Called it literally thanking his friend for shouting him out or whatever. Yeah. And he called him what he calls him on a regular basis. How can we solve that sort of thing? I guess it's an education thing. If that education literally closes the gap there, and Cavani seems like a good, like, I don't believe that he's calling his friend that out of malice or out of evil heart. But at the same time, it's still not acceptable. It's like, that's where education and closing those educational gaps between what's all right in some cultures and what's not. As I said, ideally, around the world, you wouldn't be first characterized by your race. Like, you wouldn't, just because he's your black friend, you wouldn't call him Negrito. That's in an ideal world, but we don't live in an ideal world. Clearly, the cultures are different in South America. So education in that sort of scenario. he's coming to a different culture. It's a different way of being done in England compared to Uruguay. So if he's educated, I think he took the ban very personally as well. I think
Yeah,
he
and
was
his teammates
considering
did as well.
Yeah, I think he was considering leaving England because he'd been hard with that sort of brush of racist, and he'd got the ban and whatever. So I think he took it very personally, the idea that he was being racist. But education, and those sort of ones to close the gaps, because it wasn't done out of malice, but that doesn't mean it's not right anyway.
I feel like
go on, Shems.
I feel like I was trying to read up on this. I'm not sure if it was this case, but I feel like they sent him on a course after, obviously Man United damage control. They sent him on a course just to educate him about things like that. And I didn't know that he took it personally, but it's interesting how obviously a lot of to the Spanish-speaking countries, the Hispanic-speaking countries, their defense when it comes to things like this is the word black in their language is negro. Now, they know, speaking your language, but you know what it means. They're not stupid. They're plugged into the rest of the world. So we all know what that word, how it could be derogatory. So I feel like tread carefully. I understand he was saying that to his friend, but I don't know. It's just, I feel a way about it. I'm sure several.
The thing is, we feel a way about it, but the friend don't even feel a way about it. The friend is clearly used to Cavani calling him that. Yeah. As I said, that's why I feel like it's a cultural thing that Shem's completely right. I feel a way about it too. He shouldn't be calling his black friend Negrito or whatever he called him. I think it was Negrito.
Yeah.
Just because he's his black friend. So, in terms of worldwide, I'd love a shift where your black friends aren't just being called Negrito because they're black. You don't call your white friends whatever the white word is for in Spanish. You don't call them
Blanquito.
that. So literally Blanquito. You don't call your friends that. You don't call it. He doesn't call his white friends that. So he doesn't need to really be calling his black friend Negrito. But that's where the education comes in. So you don't call any of your black friends. We don't call any of our black friends here a black friend or white friend. We don't do that.
Friends,
you don't need to do that. So education in this situation for me.
And Jules, one of the solutions, we spoke about this on a previous episode for Beyond the Hashtag when the Cavani incident happened, was in terms of education, and 100% agree with Banks, but in terms of education for the foreign players who come into this country, and basically, firstly, whoever signs for a club, one of the mandatory things they do when you're sorting out your salary, your house, whatever, is to go on one of these courses. And secondly, there should be a yearly course for sort of equality and diversity anyway for all the pro footballers, just in the professional English game anyway. So it's kind of like a yearly refresher of the kind of things that they should be knowing about, if anything's changed in the last year kind of thing. So what do you think of that kind of solution in general, and would you spin it in another way, or would you agree with it?
I agree with it, because it's I think everyone needs it. It's like when you do a crash course with a car, you need to remind yourself. So I think, I didn't even know actually they did courses, actually, until you guys brought it up. But I think in general it's a good idea for even not just foreigners, but anyone in general. I think you just need that, again, like Bank says, education, because a lot of them obviously, they're Spanish-speaking countries, they don't come here knowing that, this means, unless obviously and you're just doing it on purpose. But I genuinely think everyone kind of needs that. It's good. I think we do need to do it. I don't see any way else you could do it, but yeah, I agree on it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a thing in the football clubs at the moment. I might have to double check on it, but as far as I know, they might start bringing it in this year because, we've had the whole year of Black Lives Matter and stuff, but it's kind of in work, and I've definitely seen it in my job where they've included equality and diversity as part of the yearly training that you have to kind of do now because of everything that's happened. So I guess if your job is a professional footballer, then it should be the same thing. No?
It's interesting. I agree. Jill said not just them in football. I think she said not just people in other countries, but here, and I'm sure these guys could weigh in because they work in education and they work with kids. I'm sure the kids they work with, they know already certain things can't run. Now, I feel it's a culture thing. I feel pardon?
Again, it's just the level of education, because obviously me and Banks are different levels of education. On my age, for instance, I wouldn't take it personal because they're toddlers and they're preschoolers. I won't take offense. They've said certain stuff to me and I'm just because I know they're children. Like I'm not gonna sit there and be like, did you just call me like no, like literally
but I'm trying to say that they'll get coached out of it, whereas because you're in England, do you understand? So eventually they'll know that this is wrong.
Yeah, so like for my instance, like for my toddlers, I wouldn't try to educate them because they're not going to understand it. Whereas in another room where there's like 4 to 7 year olds, they quite understand that, but they still don't understand the difference between, they don't place like your skin on a, how can I explain it? I don't place the skin.
Like, it's not the first thing they think of.
It's just a colour to them, even though it's not really a colour, but it's just a colour to them. Like they could look at a book and be like, oh, this person looks like this teacher because of their hair. Like they wouldn't think because it's their skin. But they know that you are darker than this person or lighter than that person. So like my kids will probably be like, oh, like you're brown, and touch my skin, but I can't take offense to it. But if someone on the bus heard that, they'll be like, you don't educate your child, but they're too, like, they don't know anything. Do you get what I mean? So it's just, I think, level obviously of education, but again, it should be inclusive for everybody, to be fair.
Nah, facts. All right, we'll carry on with Man United and move a bit to the boy they call Starboy, Mason Greenwood. We won't get into the football side of things, though. Way that's for you lots. That's for you lots, pod. That's not for me.
You lot stop hating, man.
But
time for hating's gone.
Only one Starboy, and he's actually at Euros right now. So yeah, moving on.
Yeah. So earlier this season, pretty much right at the start of the season, I think it was the first international break, Mason Greenwood of Man United and Phil Foden of Man City, they got into a little debacle in Iceland and breaking COVID rules and stuff. And cool, a big thing was made of it in the media, whatever, but it was more the reaction to that, where basically Greenwood was getting dragged in the media for months after the incident, whereas Foden was pretty much allowed to move on quite quickly. And, this was shown basically, there was an article in the Mirror, which was headline saying, Man United fear Mason Greenwood could throw his career away like Ravel Morrison. Like this headline, and for those who don't know, Ravel Morrison was like a huge Man United talent a few years ago who his career didn't basically hit the heights that everyone thought it was going to. The only comparison I see between Greenwood and Ravel Morrison is that they're both light-skinned. And they both play for Man United. I don't see any other comparison, but they've just taken those two things. They've seen a kid who's been involved in an incident off the pitch, and they've tried to draw comparisons to that. So, Banks, let me get your immediate thoughts on that Greenwood incident and how it may have even affected his season in general.
Well, when we think about Greenwood's early on in the season, it was just like there was so much going on with him. We think about obviously the whole Iceland thing. He didn't start the season off well, so when he was dropped from the England squad, I didn't really mind it. But then it was the newspaper headlines that followed, and it was just the whole, it's still like he's not going to turn out. Like, this is a 19-year-old we're talking about. A 19-year-old who, yes, made a mistake, but now you just see the press steamrolling, it snowballs and it snowballs until now it's like, what do you want? Like, how do you want this? Now it's looking like, how does the press want this to play out? Now it's looking like, oh, yes, he's made a mistake 100% and he's atoned for it. He's sorry, he's remorseful, all of that good stuff. But now you're continuing it. And considering it's the fact that literally nobody around Old Trafford had a bad word to say about Mason Greenwood's preparedness, how he was in training. Yes, he made that mistake for England, but then you start making the false narratives, oh, he's not working hard. They feel like he's going to throw his career. Like, it's just like, now we know what's really going on. Like, fair enough, if he made a mistake, you want to blow that one up, whatever. He has to hold his hands up to that. But from when you start making up narratives and you're now going with, oh, he's going to throw his career away like another black Manchester United player, it's just like, we know what you're trying to do here. And luckily, Mason said that he's had good people around him that's kept him level-headed, that's through this whole thing that's kind of held him down, because it's been a tough time for him. We think back to the young ex-Manchester City academy player
who died,
that sadly took his life. Mason Greenwood was close to him, and it did rock him apparently. So like we see him getting, I think it was emotional after the Leipzig goal. He scored against Red Bull Leipzig in the Champions League, and you could see him getting emotional in the aftermath of what happened. So for any 19-year-old, that's a lot. It's a lot to anybody that literally anybody that we're talking about a 19-year-old who's already in the spotlight because of things that's happened off the field. And now you're steamrolling, just like, we know what's going on here. We know what you're trying to do. And we're thankful that he's managed to keep a level, because we've seen this is the sort of thing that could do, like the media hound and the dragging through the press. This is the sort of thing that could throw a player off, a young player off who hasn't really experienced this before. So when we talk about media attitudes and we talk about the fact that Foden, yeah, he got off pretty lightly compared to Greenwood. Yeah, Foden was playing well and he was still in the Manchester City team compared to Greenwood, who was getting dropped for United around these times. But you could see in the media the treatment that Greenwood got in comparison to Foden, light and day. And that's not something that should be just glossed over. Like, there's reasons for that. Foden, what I think is he had a girlfriend and kid at home. Like,
yeah, I was just about to say, yeah,
girlfriend and kid at home, and you're focusing on Greenwood. Like, if you really wanted to make it, if you was really interested in making this a fair story, you'd report it that way. You'd report every angle, but you hide some angles and you focus on other things because of what you want to push. So we see how it is in the press.
Yeah, facts. And the English media, we all know has a rife history of dragging down their talents, whether they're mostly the young talents, or whether, to be honest, whether they're black or white, but mostly, the young black stars. But we can even think of, like, when people like Rooney broke through, they used to find every incident to try and bring him down, and but it stems from a racial point of view with people like Sterling and Rashford, who is the patron saint of this country. They're trying to find.
They're trying very hard to drag Rashford, but it's just not working as well. And it's racist, and for example, Rooney as well is classist as well. So, mainly obviously racist. And around the Rooney time, there weren't really a lot of black stars for them to really dig their teeth into. Emil Heskey was too polite for them to really. Honestly, there was nothing to really find in him. And that story that you said, just to touch on it, with Foden and Greenwood, is quite sad, because I think it was before that, the Manchester United captain, I'm not sure if it was captain then, had a madness in Greece.
Oh, Maguire, yeah.
Absolute madness. Had a madness in Greece. And they glossed over it, and everyone did what they had to do. The powers that be really just dusted that off, and Maguire was back in the. Now, if that was any black player,
Pogba.
I'm not even going to. I don't want to use Pogba. I don't want to use, because it's too easy. If that was a black player of the same sort of magnitude, they are finished. They are finished. They probably want to go to this Euros that we're watching now because of that incident. And in the grand scheme of things, Mason Greenwood and Phil Foden snuck girls into their hotel. I know it's mad. It's mad. Okay, cool. It's mad as
it's still wrong, but
they're 19 and they snuck girls into their hotel. Like,
they made a mistake. They made a mistake. They held their hands up. That should have been the end of it. But I think Gareth South. If I'm correct, Southgate, I think dropped. I think he said he dropped Greenwood from the next squad because of the disciplinary issues. I may be misquoting him, but I believe from the next he did.
Yeah.
He did.
So for me, if Southgate wanted Greenwood as a part of this squad, that should have been the end of it. Like, there should have been no, he's still being disciplined. Like, what sort of disciplinary process is going on for 2 straight matches? It's either you forgive him or you don't. That's it. It's either you forgive him or you don't. But Southgate didn't help the situation by continuing over into the next international break. If he said he sorted it out, then let it be sorted and let it lay to rest.
Yeah,
that's it. But instead, he wanted to continue it over.
And do you lot remember, just touching what Shem said about Harry Maguire, do you remember they even gave him a BBC interview, basically allowing him to clear his name and like
explain it?
Yeah.
Imagine getting a BBC as a black player. They were making up stories about Sterling for years. Do you know how many baby mums they said they had Sterling had? They ain't given one. They gave him one interview and they made him incriminate himself. They made him say that he want to leave. Yeah. That's the only BBC interview they gave him. Said, lined them up, said, I want to leave Liverpool. That's the only interview that was the only interview BBC gave him. All of these bullshit headlines that they put about Sterling, they didn't want to let him clear his name once. There was only that one there where they knew as a young, that was even shiesty because they went straight to a 19-year-old and said, let's do an interview.
Let's get him under pressure.
Shiesty.
Nah.
Put him under pressure, made him, nah. For them to give Maguire that interview, that was not, that's when I knew this whole PR thing was nasty. This thing is nasty.
Just quickly, and Ravel Morrison, why his one is sad as well, why he couldn't really get a BBC interview to clear his name and all these things, because he didn't develop in senior football. So like the people within the industry, and if you're really watching, you knew he was peak. You knew he was the next thing coming through. If you was watching the compilations and all these things then, back then in 2010 or whenever it was, cool. But because he hadn't developed in under the lights, he didn't warrant enough stock to be able to do certain things. So yeah, it's sad. So for them to even compare them to Ravel Morrison's run-ins with the law were a bit more mad than what anything Greenwood's done here. He had like, I think witness intimidation, and then he had problems with his girlfriend, like about I don't know if it's GBH, but like altercations with his girlfriend, and then the madness on Twitter about using the F word, homophobic tweets. So Ravel Morrison, it's not that bad, but like, come on, like don't.
What's even sadder when I think about Ravel Morrison is when I think about the fact that he got screwed out of a West Ham contract by Sam Allardyce because he didn't want... Sam Allardyce said, oh, you've got to sign up with my agent if you want to get a new contract. Yeah. Obviously, Ravel Morrison's his own person, and he said, no, I'm not going to do that. And he basically throws him out.
Wheeler dealer Sam.
Morrison didn't get no interview in order to clear his name. He got none of that. So, like when we think about the fact that Maguire got his interview or whatever, like it's mad. Morrison got no interview to. Imagine if he would have dropped that bombshell back then. When remember when he was hot, it was peak for him. He was playing for West Ham. He was their best player. Ran Tottenham. Ragged. There was a time when he was peak and then it just stopped. That was the reason it stopped. I think he was speaking to Rio Ferdinand on the 5 show. That he said that if he unless he signed with Allardyce's agent, he wasn't getting a new contract. He was going to get frozen out. He decided against signing with the agent, and he has to go on loan to the Championship when he's been balling in the Prem. Imagine he's able to drop that bombshell, saying, "This is what you lot's managers doing. This is what Allardyce is doing to me. Is this fair?" Like, imagine he got to put that into the national press.
That's definitely illegal, though. That's definitely
100% illegal.
Mad, yeah.
That's definitely illegal, though.
That can't be legal. It can't be legal. So, I mean, the opportunities to even just clear our name, get our stories across, get black footballer stories across, that I think this is a bit off topic, but I feel like that's why these spaces that are being headed up by young black people, like I feel like that's why it's so crucial to get their stories across. Like I feel like in these mainstream media, like it could so easy. As I said with the Sterling one, you say the wrong thing and it's twisted immediately. I feel like these lot know if they go to a black space, more time they're there to protect. They're there to get your story out. So I feel like that's why it's so important. A lot of these black football spaces are popping up and being safe havens for footballers to tell their stories at.
No, facts. Cool. We'll move on from United to Arsenal. And one of the main, I guess, stories surrounding Arsenal and English football in general was the online abuse stuff. And this went out throughout the whole season in terms of players getting abused online after games. And I think it was in March or maybe even April where like the whole of English football took a stance to boycott social media for 4 days across like the long weekend. Didn't tweet anything, didn't do anything. Well, I think Thierry Henry actually started it a few weeks before by himself, and no one wanted to back it. And then all of a sudden, everyone jumped off and started.
Everyone had to get permission from their.
No one wanted to back it.
Everyone had to get permission from their publicists.
Like a month.
Yeah, it was a month. Though. A month.
You'll come back to insane.
Honestly, so and the reason I wanted to link this to Arsenal was because when everyone came back from the social media boycott was Arsenal, I guess, were one of the main clubs who I guess took it a little bit further and detailed some of the things that they were doing to stop online abuse, like working with Facebook and those kind of things. And they did this like online abuse campaign where each week they got like a drawing from like one of their kids to like illustrate stopping online abuse in another way, basically to show that they were like consistent with the message, and it just wasn't just over a weekend. So I wanted to, I guess, bring in Shem's and Jules' thoughts on, I guess, the boycott in general, Arsenal's role in it, and just Arsenal's role in the discrimination fight in general from your fans' perspective.
I personally think the boycott, in general, these things, just, I don't know, like, where'd you go from here? Like, once you've done it, what happens next? Because we just go back into a circle. Like, we literally just do a cycle, and I don't understand the meaning of it. I mean, even some of my like YouTuber friends and stuff didn't post anything, and I'm just like, okay, so but you're gonna go back to Tuesday and still post. So like, it was so weird because they all literally popped back on Tuesday after bank holiday, like, yeah, this happened, and I think it was on the same weekend as the break-in with the United, the whole Super League thing. It was like within that time, so everyone literally couldn't say nothing, but people were still literally like at the United the whole madness, people on, like, they were in Insta Live and stuff, but they were trying not to say something, but you're still on social media, so I don't understand. But anyways, I personally think it was pointless. 4 days of not tweeting, posting, doing a black screen, and for me it's pointless. But the whole stop online abuse campaign that we're doing, I think it's a good idea. I haven't actually looked in deep depth of it and see what they're doing, but I know that every time they post it, there's always like a chain of abuse, and they're literally just like, oh, you're just like any other club, you don't mean it, blah blah. Like, I even actually went on the link, and they're literally just downing it down, like, why are you doing it? It's pointless, blah blah. Which I get, but again, it's just a hashtag. Like, literally after our last 10 games, every time we'd finish a game, like I said, Aubameyang, Tierney, the thing would just be like, they'll post a picture on Instagram and hashtag stop online abuse, and it's like, okay, but where are we going with this? Like, move forward. But I mean, I guess one of the things they were doing was obviously like catching out fans who were online abusing people and taking away their memberships and all that stuff. But why are we starting this now and not before, when we were asking about, verifying people online and stuff like that to stop all these abuse from players, fans and stuff? So, I mean, I guess we're moving somewhere, but we're not moving fast enough. Yeah.
Guys did the 4-day ban from social media, whatever, and got racially abused. Literally, as soon as they stepped back onto social media, it was literally as soon as they stepped back on, they got racially abused. It was just like, what's the point? What's that?
Literally.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, are we being serious here? Like, what's the point?
Yeah, no. To piggyback on what Jules said, when she said the black screen thing, it triggered me because it gave me the PTSD of when we had the black screens on Instagram posts. Remember, around that, it was over a year ago.
The George Floyd time.
It literally just gave me those vibes. And I understand the aim to do the whole to come off socials, all these clubs, is to prompt Twitter to take action. Now, that what everyone was questioning is us coming off and us not posted. How does it affect Twitter's pockets? Now, what this has shown us is it doesn't. It doesn't affect. If all celebrities come off Twitter, I don't believe it affects how much people use it, because it's just got a stronghold. It's got its neck on it's got its hand on everyone's neck. But the aim is to force Twitter to be able to get verification for some of these accounts, these football AV accounts who are just posting nasty stuff. I don't know how they're going to do it. No matter what they say, Arsenal, it will just be seen as lip service. You're just talking. You're just trying to just follow the trend and just not look woke or you know what I mean? So I don't know what they can do. What they can do within games, now taking this away from online, what they can do within games, and this is something I've always said that these clubs don't care about, neither do UEFA, neither do the FA, neither do FIFA. When a fan or people receive racist abuse, I thought about this when Sterling had it at Chelsea, when people receive racist abuse, you can find that fan straight away. You can find a fan, no matter how crowded it is, they can really find and dissect which fan it was. Now, if you say you're going to take, whether it be points, whether it be empty stadiums. Back then, empty stadiums was a big thing. Obviously, now we're used to it. But if you're going to say, okay, you're going to lose points, empty stadium, the fans would they'll police it themselves.
Yeah.
So if someone makes a monkey chant or whatever, everyone was gonna literally, if the FA enforce it that if the club doesn't take the right proceedings, the justified proceedings to deal with the fan that did the racist abuse, then maybe they get bigger sanctions and like they lose points, this and that. Then the fans will self-police it. That's how you iron it out. That's the beauty of racism, tackling racism in football, because it's in a vacuum. That's how you iron it. You iron it out. You stamp it out. But on socials, I feel like it's bigger than the clubs. It's bigger than the clubs. There's nothing the clubs can do. It's bigger than the clubs. And the sad thing is, even though it's common now, this has always existed.
Oh, of course.
It always existed. This is, and not just for the players. I remember early Twitter days when like celebrities were actually replying. Remember Rebecca Black when it was in year 7? It's Friday.
Yeah, the Friday song.
Remember them days?
Yeah,
Twitter was a dark place. You just had to firm it. And I'm sorry, but until Twitter or Facebook or Instagram do something, you're going to have to firm it.
#BTHPOD.